Good morning, members of the Senior Citizens League. My name is Marvin Valdez, and I'm here today to talk to you about my bucket list. Now, my bucket list is a list of all the things that I want to accomplish in my lifetime. They include number 17, becoming a YouTube star. Number 29, being able to dunk a basketball. And number 2, which is probably really important to me, is becoming an amazing dad when I grow up. Now, I bet you in the audience probably have bucket lists of your own, and probably have friends and other family members who have bucket lists as well. So what were to happen if I were to tell you that you, your friends, and your family members are not allowed to complete your bucket list? How would that make you feel? Would you feel angry, mad, sad, or a little bit depressed? Well, that's actually how some of the young people here in the United States feel today. According to Moses Palacios, Public Policy Assistant Director at the National Association of College Admissions Counseling, stated that in America today, there are 65,000 graduating high school seniors in America who probably have bucket lists of their own, but won't be able to complete these bucket lists simply because they are undocumented immigrants. That is why in this speech, I will argue that you should vote for the passing of the DREAM Act for 3 reasons. The first reason is that one of the problems in America today is that there's a group of young people whose dreams are limited simply because they aren't U.S. citizens. Second, I will argue that you should pass the DREAM Act because it will give these students, these undocumented students, a pathway to citizenship, a pathway to complete their dreams. And last but not least, I will argue that the DREAM Act will not increase chain migration. So now that we know there is a group of young people here in the United States whose dreams are limited simply because they are undocumented, you probably don't know much about this group of young people, so let's shed a little bit of light upon them. Now, according to Tracy Bonavista, assistant professor of Asian American Studies at the California State College, University Northridge, stated that among the 11.9 million undocumented immigrants here in the United States, there are around 1.5 million of them who are under the age of 18. Now, according to Marshall Fitz, Director of Immigration Policy for the Center for American Change, he stated that being under the age of 18, these young kids don't really have a say in their life circumstances, that they probably just came to America just to be with their families, just so that they would not be left behind. Now, some of these undocumented students might know that they are here in America illegally, which is the case for Irene. Now, according to Beleza Chen, a graduate advisor for the Educators for Fair Consideration, she talked about Irene's case. Now, Irene came to America from the Philippines when she was just 10 years old. And growing up here in America, she was always afraid and always scared, and she was always hiding because she was afraid that she would get caught and get deported back to the Philippines. Now, imagine being a little girl, being always scared and always afraid and always in hiding. It's hard for you to ask for help. And so later on in her school career, it would be hard for her to ask help from a college counselor, which would then make pursuing dreams of a higher education that much more difficult. Now, some of these undocumented students might not even know that they are here illegally, which is the case of Ju. Now, according to Beleza Chen, who wrote about the story about Ju, now Ju came to America from Korea when he was just 12 years old. And Ju didn't find out that he was illegal until he tried to get his driver's license. Now, imagine being a teen again, and you're at the DMV, you're super excited to get your license, but you get denied simply because you are an undocumented immigrant. Now, for a lot of American teens, getting your driver's license is part of the American dream, but for Ju, that dream did not come true. So now that we know a little bit more about this group of young individuals, passing the DREAM Act would give them a pathway to citizenship, a pathway to make their dreams come true, and would also continue or make a new pathway for the American dream. Now, if the DREAM Act is passed, fear would no longer be an obstacle for a lot of these undocumented students. According to Moses Palacios previously cited, undocumented students eligible for the DREAM Act would no longer have to live in fear because the DREAM Act would protect them from deportation. Also, those eligible for the DREAM Act, according to Moses Palacio, those eligible for the DREAM Act would be granted work authorization, which would then allow them to apply for jobs without being scared that they would be denied the job because of their citizenship status. Also, by passing the DREAM Act, it would make dreams of achieving higher education that much more realistic, at least when concerning money. If the DREAM Act is passed, according to Moses Palacios, if the DREAM Act is passed, those students in institutions of higher education and who also fulfill the requirements of the DREAM Act would be eligible to apply for federal student loans and federal work-study programs. Also, by passing the DREAM Act, it would repeal Section 505 of the Illegal Immigration Reform and the Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. Now, this would allow states to decide for themselves whether to allow undocumented students to pay in-state tuition fees to go to their colleges and universities. Now, not only would the DREAM Act benefit these undocumented students' dreams, but it would also continue the American dream as well. In the United States, the American dream was always about achieving your heart's desires through hard work, perseverance, and integrity. Now, hard work, perseverance, and integrity are all qualities that these undocumented students must have in order to complete the process outlined by the DREAM Act, because the DREAM Act process has so many different requirements and is a process that takes a minimum of 10 years. So, despite the DREAM Act being beneficial to so many dreams, and even the American dream as well, some people believe that the DREAM Act will actually hurt America by increasing chain migration. Now, one of the groups that believes this is actually your very own, the Senior Citizenship League. Now, for the Senior Citizenship League, they believe that the chain migration, that the chain migration will increase, or because of the DREAM Act, because when DREAM Act beneficiaries gain their citizenship, the Senior Citizenship League believes that the beneficiaries of the DREAM Act would petition not only their immediate relatives but also distant relatives to come to America. Now, this would increase Social Security claims and retirement claims, which would then mean it would decrease such benefits for U.S. citizens like you and I. However, according to Marshall Fitz, as previously cited, a chain of migration big enough and fast enough to impact Social Security and retirement benefits is not going to happen. And that's because the DREAM Act process itself, like I said earlier, is a minimum of 10 years. And that's just to get the status of permanent residency. Now, to actually be able to petition an immediate family member to come to the United States, a permanent resident must apply for U.S. citizenship and then be granted U.S. citizenship. Then, after the DREAM Act beneficiary gets U.S. citizenship, they must wait at least 13 years before they can petition a family member to come over. So doing the math, that is a total of 23 years to petition a family member to come to the United States. And that 23 years is too long of a time period to have a huge impact on retirement benefits and Social Security benefits. However, today, you, the audience, have the opportunity to have a huge impact on the lives of these undocumented students by helping them fulfill their dreams and giving them a pathway to citizenship. And we could all do this together by voting for the DREAM Act, because I described how in America today there's a group of young people whose dreams are unattainable simply because they are undocumented immigrants. However, we found a solution in that we could vote for the DREAM Act, which would then give these students a pathway to citizenship. And last but not least, we discovered that the DREAM Act will not create a huge increase in chain migration, which would have a negative effect on Social Security and retirement benefits. So, before I leave you here today, I actually have one more item on my bucket list that I would like to share with you, and which is an item that you, the audience, can help me with, and which you could probably all guess what it is, which is my number 21, help pass the DREAM Act. Thank you.